Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. The channel I continually call Work in Progress, Always Evolving, and the channel where we have amazing conversations with everyday people just like you and me. We can talk about all kinds of things that have happened where we want to share something, an experience that we've had. We can talk about UFOs. We can talk about near-death experience, whatever it is that you have had on your particular journey and are willing to share, then I promise you it's going to help others. So the exciting news is I just had my first actually conversation part one and part two with an amazing gentleman named Ray Foster, who has an absolutely incredible story. The both one and two I think are up on my website now, so just look for Ray Foster. And he had an amazing health improvement is the way to describe it. Not by doing anything with the body per se or following some program, but rather he had a shift in his consciousness where intuitively he knew exactly what he needed to do to get his body back to where it needed to be. Now this is after going to doctors and for a long time and having some really weird stuff going on, and finally kind of turning it over to his higher self, so to speak. And it was amazing what happened. So check that out if you haven't already seen it. Also, if you are inspired to have or even would consider to have a conversation with me, then definitely look below the video because there's where my contact information is, and reach out to me and let's see if we can't make some more conversations happen. So today I wanted to talk about, it was I call it a download, information I got, and it happened in two ways. One was through automatic writing that I do quite often, and the other one was during my yoga practice. And it's typical for me to get downloads or information when I'm doing my yoga exercise or yoga practice. It's a time where I think my mind is more quiet, and the body's working through energy. So I'm probably in a perfect place to be able to hear what's always, I'm sure, coming forth, but I don't always hear it. The other thing I wanted to mention, so part of what I got in my automatic writing is that right now, and we keep hearing this, that the energy on this planet is really, really strong. It's very intense. And many of us are feeling that, and we feel it through feeling exhausted a lot, or just, body not feeling quite right, just kind of sometimes lethargic, low energy. For me, it comes in all kinds of different ways. And then I can, have a day or two where I feel really energetic, better than I felt, and I don't know what that's all about, but what I'll share with you in my download is how I'm beginning to understand how energy works through the body, because what's going on right now is requiring the body to do a lot of processing, and that does take a lot of energy. So I was in my automatic writing kind of trying to get a sense of where I'm at on my own journey. And actually, I was speaking to the fact that I had been feeling so exhausted and kind of, I don't know, not grounded, and a little bit lost, and just not where I want to be. And who's the I, right, that wants to be there? So I recognize, I don't know about any of you watching, I'm sure some of you do, that I'm in an illusion right now, that there isn't a me, a false me. That's been made up through beliefs. There's no separate person here. There's nothing like that. But I'm living like it is there, like I'm a Susie, and I'm in control a lot of times, and I'm can make decisions, and I live in the duality of things are right or things are wrong. And then the beliefs that come with that from childhood onward, all that causes struggle, quite honestly. And struggle takes a lot of energy, really does. So there's part of the energy issue. So, on another hand, though, I can look back on my life, um, not like yesterday, right? I don't know how far back. Is it a year ago, 6 months ago? I haven't really been noticing exactly when this happens, but I'll look back on my life and I am totally 100% clear that there's no me. There's no false entity. There's no false being that's experienced anything that happened, let's say 6 months ago, in a certain incident, which I may be have in my memory, right? And I'm real clear that that just was life happening through this so-called body. And that was it. It's just life happening. And there was no buddy, no separate person doing that. It just was life flowing through the body. And that's in the now moment. There's only the now moments. It's so clear for me when I look back on these certain events or times in my life, and there's no way that there was this, I can just see there was no separate false self, or whatever we want to call it, or ego, or Susie, that was making these things happen or not happen, or anything. It was just like a river flowing. It was just life happening. Yet, when I get closer to what, I don't know how to even describe it, I guess closer to what I'm experiencing right now, I can get very lost and feel that I am this Susie, and I can feel there that I'm separate, and that life is happening to me, not for me, and that then and the struggle and the suffering starts, right? So in my automatic writing, when I'm asking this, my guides came up with an analogy, I guess I could call it, that really helped me kind of get a view this from a different perspective. And it seems to make sense for me. I don't know if it will for you, but I thought I would share that. So what they described is, they said, when you're flying in an airplane, oftentimes you're flying above the clouds. Now you go through the clouds, and then, the pilot gets you above the clouds, and you have no idea what's happening under the clouds or beneath the clouds, because you're just in sunshine and blue sky, and that's what you're experiencing. And then, when it comes time to land, the pilot's taking you back through, if there is clouds, and now you know what's going on beneath the clouds. So why that analogy, or what does that mean? It means that what happens in our experience as we're here on this planet, experiencing about being a human, having a human experience, okay, that's what I'm really trying to say. So when we're having a human experience, what happens is that the truth is just life is flowing through, like I said. From when I look back on my past memories, I can see it. No one's here doing anything, but life is flowing through. Life is just happening in every now moment. However, I don't know why this happens, and I don't think they explained it either. I'm sure they didn't, or I'd remember. That as this experience is going on for us of being human, for most of us, while life is going on through us, we're above the clouds in another experience. And we begin to, so we don't know what's going on under the clouds, right? But we begin to interpret life, whatever is flowing through, based on our beliefs and our conditioning and our the environment that we grew up in and the culture, etc. all of that is kind of our baggage that we carry around. So we're above those clouds. And so while life is just happening in every now moment, there's a part of us that thinks it's separate and that is putting all of these beliefs and conditioning and, all that we the baggage that we carry around all the time, we're putting that kind of on top of what's really going on underneath the clouds, which is just life happening. And we're above the clouds with a whole other interpretation and a whole other experience. And that's where we are lost in La La Land. And we don't get that. We are not, I was going to say, seeing it, awakened to it. We're caught in the story, right? And that's what's happening. Well, underneath the clouds is just life, like a river flowing through us in every now moment, without judgment, without interpretation, just life flowing, period. However, we get above the clouds and we have this whole other interpretation of what's going on, and then the fear comes in, and the anxiety comes in, and the worry comes in, and we're just off and running in that world, and that's the movie, right? We're watching this movie above the clouds, I guess you could say, like in the plane watching the movie, while the reality, the truth of everything is going on underneath those clouds, right? It's kind of crazy when you think about, well, you can't even think about it, and we can only grasp this to whatever place we can grasp it. So, for some of you, this may make some sense. For others, it may not. I don't know. For me, it makes sense, if we can say it that way, because I totally do believe that there is this part of me that thinks it's separate, and brought with it all these beliefs and this conditioning and etc., and is operating as if that's what's going on. So so I kind of sit with this stuff, because I can't really get it. I'm not living it. Let me put it that way. I'm having a hard time explaining it. When I'm in my automatic writing, when it's being explained, it seems crystal clear. When I try to communicate it out of there, out of my head, out of however this comes in, then get kind of, I don't know what, confused, unclear, not sure it's even making sense, but internally, it does. Now, the challenge for me is I don't want to be above the clouds. I want to be below the clouds, where reality really is, the truth of who I am. But there is no I, there's no me, there's nothing here that has control over that. If we want to call that an awakening, or, kind of a remembrance of who we really are, however this all happens, then that would be where we are staying underneath the clouds. Not we, the person, but just the experience. So, these things are really hard to grasp and explain and to work with. I think for many of us, we just really want to get out of the suffering and the struggling. We want to get out of the pain. We want to get out of the belief system. We want to start to deconstruct these beliefs and these habits and these behaviors and these patterns that we have in our life that really are not serving us. So we're suffering. And right now, because of this evolution in consciousness, there's a lot of intense energy anyway on the planet, and there is a movement, is kind of what I've heard it called, to really kind of be pushing at many of us, most of us probably, maybe all of us, to wake up out of the illusion and the dream and really get into the moment, the now moments, like what happens under the clouds, rather than staying above and having our whole own interpretation. It's like life's happening down here and we're up here having a whole different experience. We're having a whole different life, but that's all BS. It's not true up here above the clouds. But we as human species, are lost in thinking this is what life is doing to me right now. Life is never doing anything to us, from my understanding, from what my guides tell me and people I listen to. There isn't a life doing something to us. Life is just energy. We don't even know what it is exactly. But there is an experience that's going on, at least on this planet, if you're on the planet right now, which I'm assuming you are. If you're hearing this video, well, we could take this all kinds of places, couldn't we? But here's what it is. So what I believe, I'm hearing, when I am listening to my guides or what's coming through in my yoga practice, is that the more often we can have an awareness of what the conflict is, or the situation is, or the why are we up above the clouds but yet we know there's the reality below the clouds, the more often we can allow that awareness to be seen, without judgment, and also without a desire, like, okay, I got it, I want to wake up, because that won't work either. We have to be, from, again, my understanding, in the neutral zone. Just neutral with it, and allowing, or being just fine with what is. You can't even say allowing, because who's allowing? Nobody's allowing. It's just being with what is, right? And, we have moments like that. I think most of us do. And maybe it's because some moments are easier to be with, perhaps. But, I think also for many of us, and again, I hear this from a lot of others, there's an underlying kind of, I could describe it as a churning energy that is just never at peace, is without even a reason. It's just a kind of uncomfortable, kind of a churning feeling within the body. It's an energetic thing, but it's there. And as long as that's there, then we know we're kind of caught in this belief of a separate something, right? And when we're in that separate something, then we're having all this other experience going on, which is the illusion, it's stories, whatever. And it's not fun. It's not comfortable. Well, I shouldn't say it's not fun, because maybe sometimes it is fun. You know what I'm saying? Maybe sometimes we like being there. I think we do at times, when everything is working out the way we want it, It's kind of like, the weather's perfect. Everything's perfect. The hair is perfect. The perfect temperature. The perfect everything. And we're fine to be in the story or the illusion at that time. But those moments, and they are moments, or whatever we want to call it, of something, don't last long. Well, nothing does, because it's all energy. So, the good times don't last long, and the bad times don't last long. But we just want to be in neutral times, to be in peace. It's neutral. We don't have a attachment to what's going to happen, or when it should happen, or if it should happen, or we don't have attachments to right and wrong decisions. We're just neutral. Just neutral. Just, life is just moving through as it moves through. Like maybe how a river moves through, or a stream moves through. And maybe the stream or the river, you hit a rock. It hits a rock. It's the water, and it just still keeps moving through, without a attachment to how to do this. It's just movement. I don't know. There's so many ways we can try to explain this, but it's not really an easy thing to explain, yet we have to talk about it. I really think we do. And that's where, I have this idea of having these conversations with everyday people that specifically have something to do that you could share about your journey, even, this idea, what goes on for you? Have you had this experience where you kind of are flip-flopping in and out of the story, the movie, the interpretation versus just being in the moment with life? Um, there's these specific examples of maybe a near-death experience and to share what happened from that. So many people haven't wanted to talk about those things because it's kind of looked at like you're crazy, or it used to be. It's definitely, I think, more in, I don't know that we could say the mainstream, but the mainstream, let's call it, of the spiritual world. Um, it's like when somebody has that experience, like the gentleman I mentioned earlier that I had the conversation with, where he had this moment of truth, this moment of whoa. And in that moment, everything shifted in his life, and it's still continuing to shift because this happened in more recent times. But something could happen when you were a kid, and that shifted your whole world. I think we can all look back and tell a story of we thought our life was going in one particular way, and we were on course with it, and then something completely shifted and maybe turned us around 180 degrees, and we were headed in another direction. I mean, we hear these stories. How did that happen? What was that about? And then if we want to own it, take it on like, oh, I did this, then we can come up with another story. So, there's always the story. There's always the judging of going what happened or what didn't happen, you know? Being in the neutral state or a neutral place for some reason, I think for us humans, is like so unknown and so uncomfortable. It's foreign to us, right? Yet when we can get there, many of us get there through meditation, through exercise, through some type of relaxation, or it could be a sport. So that's how we get there. And we know that experience then, where it's just being, right? I think I've mentioned why I know I have for this before, but many years ago when I was really into playing tennis, well, practicing tennis, I should say, never got really good at it. But what I loved about tennis was the practice. And so at this tennis club that we belonged to, they had the ball machines, which would, hit balls in different ways that whatever you were trying to get better at, backhand, front hand, whatever, the balls would be automatically from this ball machine sent to you. Well, I would get in what they call the zone. I just loved that feeling. Was so free, and I was not attached to an outcome. I had no attachment to how many balls I was going to miss or how many balls I was going to hit. It was just a rhythm that went on. And it was like a meditation for me, and I was drawn to it. And I really wanted to live there in a way. I just wanted to live on that in the practice court and just keep hitting those balls because it was such a peaceful feeling and yet it was not, it was a peaceful feeling, but there was a lot of good energy, a lot of vibrance, liveliness in it. It's not, again, this isn't easy to explain, but it was one of those times for I don't know how long I did that for, maybe a year or so, where, that was like my time of meditation, my time of relaxation. And I always think about that because the memory of it is so still in me, of how just that rhythm. I think that's how life really works when we're just in the flow. It's just now, this now moment, this now moment, this now moment is happening as it happens. So I think it's probably enough said about this whole idea. The main thing I wanted to bring forth today was this whole idea of being above the clouds or below the clouds as we begin, or as we're in our different journeys, grasping in different ways, understanding in different ways. We're all unique in that, in how we are experiencing this human experience right now. And so I thought, maybe this would help someone, or maybe you guys have been going through something very similar, or maybe not so similar. And that would be a great conversation, by the way, to have with you, because that way every time we can bring these things up, we really help one another, because we are unique and we're having different experiences of the same thing, right? And the more that we can share this with one another, the more we're kind of helping each other. I kind of see it up the ladder, like this ladder of going through this evolution now, that we're kind of reaching down and giving a hand to the next person on the just below us on the ladder, right? And then somebody's reaching up for us, or we're reaching up to them. So we're kind of, I don't know, I hope this makes sense, but we're kind of helping each other that way. As more people are higher on the ladder, they're helping more of us get to a different phase or stage on the ladder, and then helping others that are just beginning. So I think it is a much needed way of being with one another today. It's so important that we learn to be kind to ourselves, kind to others. This is, I bring this up at the end of every one of my videos, because I know how important it is. The being kind to ourselves. We don't even recognize a lot of the times where we're unkind to ourselves. I know I was taking a walk with my husband this morning, and I was saying something, criticizing or judging myself about something with walking. Now I can't even remember exactly what it was. I think I felt I was walking too slow. And he said, quit judging. Don't judge yourself. Don't be so harsh with yourself. Just be in the moment. Why, and enjoy yourself. And of course, I had to ask him, does that mean you're judging what I'm judging? That was the joke. It's not a joke, it's true. We all are in this judgment. But hey, it brought me back to this idea of being kind. And it doesn't mean that in that very moment I can be kind. I didn't even see it as unkind, quite honestly. With whatever I was saying about it was walking too slow or walking a certain way, I didn't see that as unkind. It was a judgment, right? And I didn't recognize it as that. And so when he said that, then, I had to stop and look at how I wouldn't have considered that being unkind. But when I looked back at it, saw what I was saying, it was unkind. It certainly wasn't positive. It certainly wasn't supportive. So, and again, this doesn't mean to be like a Pollyanna, like trying to be positive, think our way into kindness. That will not work. So I didn't try to positive think my way into kindness at that moment. All that I did was observe this pattern. That's all. And let it be there. Because I'm pretty sure, and this has worked for me, the more often I can observe a pattern, then I become aware of it. And the more I become aware of it, then I can kind of release it, right? And not through positive thinking, not any of that, but just an awareness allows a release of it, where it no longer holds its power, right? So be kind to yourself. And if you like this video, please click the like button and do subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate that. And comment. I have so much appreciation for those of you that do comment. It just means a lot to me, and I know it helps others as well. So, I welcome your comments. I really do. And just one more time, if you'd like to have a conversation, or maybe you just want to talk about to see if you would want to have a conversation with me, then just, click on my contact link below, and let's see where we can take it from there. Alrighty, everyone, I'm going to click off, and until next time, Take care. Those of you that have watched this before any of my videos, I have this little clicker. And the joke is I can never click this off in one shot. I can click it on in one shot, but for some reason, and it's not the clicker, it's the click it. What would I call myself? The one that's clicking, or the problem, if it is a problem, where the energy lies. I'll put it that way. Okay, not meaning to complicate things anymore. I'm just going to click off and say, have a good day.